Roundup, a recap of what's happening at City Hall with John Ongaro. The views expressed in this program are solely of those of the host and not necessarily those of the radio station or its partners.
Well, a pretty important meeting last night started right on time with all 13 members present. Only the mayor was joining from home. We'll start with administration and the clerk's office proposing significant changes to its governance structure. Key recommendations include the introduction of 3 new standing committees: Finance and Administration, Quality of Life, and Growth, composed of 4 councillors and the mayor, designed to increase council efficiency. The plan also involves a dissolution of most non-legislated advisory committees on council, such as the Anti-Racism Committee, Equity, Audit, and Earth Care committees, with their work continuing through administration reporting to the new standing committees. Additionally, the new bylaw will incorporate meeting principles, propose the appointment of a speaker to preside over city council meetings, set all the meetings for Tuesdays, adjust deputation procedures, introduce a consent agenda, and require recorded votes for all city council decisions. Changes to the speaking limits are also proposed. That allows members up to 15 minutes per item over 3 rounds at most meetings. And the new bylaw reflects the increased authority of the city's elected mayor to strong mayor powers legislation. These governance changes are intended to improve public understanding of decision-making and offer greater opportunity for city engagement and enhance efficiency for council administration, along with aligning with the city's strategic plans focused on continuous improvement. Now, while some councillors expressed concerns about dissolving specific advisory committees, most supported the introduction of recorded votes and the consent agenda, and even the speaker role. There are no immediate financial implications to these big changes. Through a reduction of the committee expenses, maybe for meals and parking, they may save a few dollars. Historically, standing committees were utilized in Thunder Bay after amalgamation in 1970 until approximately 1987, before the Committee of the Whole structure became the method. Now, the city clerk started the discussion and spent some time explaining what a dissolution of committees would mean. As a matter of fact, that's a good thing, but she had to explain it again because many councillors didn't understand what happens to these committees, so much so that she had to explain that this isn't the silencing of the public, it's just a restructuring, and it will continue on all fronts. The suggestion is to start in September. And away we went. Right off the bat, an amendment from Councillor Atrini to change the resolution and adding, the review includes the option to continue, amend, or revert to today's present procedure if required. What that means is she wants to add an amendment that says they can change their mind if they don't like the new rules. But it was pointed out at council that they can already change the rules anytime. So with some debate, that amendment passed, giving them an out, even though it's redundant and already part of the procedure. So back to the main motion we went. Councillor Folds proposed trying to keep the Earth Care Advisory Committee and offered another amendment. That's number 2 of the night. He wants council to vote on just that committee and keeping it. That lost 7-6 in the first split vote of the night. Then came amendment number 3 from Councillor Folds to consider the Committee of the Whole and committees to remain intact, not change anything, and sending reports back to administration to add what they're doing now and keeping the advisory committees. That lost 9-4. So back to the main motion we went as amended. And now the question. But wait, there's more. Councillor Folds wants to vote on these big changes separately. So first, the change to standing committees, getting rid of the Committee of the Whole as drafted, along with the calendar of new meetings, including meetings on Tuesday night, was carried 9-4. Next, on the dissolution of committees, they were approved. They're gone. That was 8-5. So after 2 hours of discussion, the resolution from the clerk and administration restructuring councils, as we see it, passes. It's a major change, a huge advancement. And although the lifers on councils disagree with change because they'll have less time on the mic, and some of them are concerned they won't get to speak at every committee meeting anymore, it passed. So watch for major changes to meetings and them moving to Tuesday nights coming this fall. Next up, suggested adjustments to the city's 2025 property tax policy. The corporate report came forward last week, and it was deferred to this week because, well, councillors couldn't agree. The policy recommends reducing tax ratios for commercial properties from 1.98 to 1.97%, large industrial properties from 2.73 to 2.61, and multi-residential properties from 1.99 to 1.98. Now, these changes are part of a long-term strategy that was already approved by Council in 2023. For a full-service residential property assessed at $100,000, the total tax increase for 2025 is projected at $66.58. Of this, $63 is tied to the approved budget, and the remaining $3.58 resulting in the recommended ratio adjustments. So that means a median residential single-family home assessed at $219,000 would see an annual increase of $145. Final tax bills are expected to be mailed by the end of the month, with due dates set for August 6th and October 1st. The report also notes that 0.72% assessment growth, primarily from residential class, will contribute to over $1.6 million in new tax revenue. The provincial reassessment has been postponed. That means that your 2025 taxes are based on property values from 2016. That started the discussion, and away we went. An amendment from Councillor Gatuga, seconded by Councillor Folds, to keep things the same. No changes. After an hour of discussion, Councillor Gatuga called the question, but he was out of order, needed to wait his turn, so the discussion continued. When it got back to his turn, he called the question again, to which we hear on an open mic, "Thanks a lot, Trevor," from the mayor. He didn't get a chance to speak, so with that, Council, despite administration's recommendation, once again chose to keep things the way they are, ignore the shift in commercial and residential taxes, and really only add up to a few dollars a year. Pretty easy to guess what they picked. Of course, things stay the same. The vote was 8-5. No changes in your tax policies this year. And away we went.
We haven't even scratched the surface yet here,
Yeah,
Jeff?
not even close. Next,
Okay.
a quick mention of the new deputy city clerk. Last week, Krista Power announced that Deputy Clerk Dana Earl moves to a new position at City Hall as the Director of Customer Service. With that, former CBC broadcaster and recent part of the communications team and host of the city's podcast, The Minutes, Jeff Walters becomes the new Deputy City Clerk. Mr. Walters will do a great job in his new role. So with all of that, at 9:33, off we went to City Council, and this is where things got interesting. I'm going to change the order of the events, and you'll understand why in a moment. So first, let's dig into the last item of the night. The temporary village was back. You've probably seen the news reports that Cam River Park, the selected location for the village, is now out, and that all of that had to come back to council last night, and boy, did it ever. But before starting the discussion, there had to be some rule changes. First, the item to suspend the rules, a notice of motion to change the bylaw, is supposed to be delayed and debated at the next meeting. But the motion last night was to bring it to the floor and discuss at last night's meeting because of the urgency of the issue. So off to debating, changing the rules we go, back and forth. We have rules for a reason. Yes, but this is urgent. We need a decision tonight, and back and forth. It required a 2/3 vote. That means 9 needed to be in favor of suspending the rules and bringing the village forward last night. Well, that lost 8-5. But wait a minute. Seems like a couple of councillors weren't understanding what they were voting for. So a shocked council, when they heard the vote of 8-5, decided to call for a revote. And look at that. 2 of them changed their mind. This time it passed 10-3. Why does this keep happening? Now on to the notice of motion to rescind Camp Park as the preferred location. And with this, Mark Bentz said it best last night. He said that this has been an intensive and painful process. He's absolutely right. Administration has been jumping through hoops for months for this council, who have turned down 3 previous suggestions for a location. A location based on a plan that they voted for. Now Cam River Park location, the 4th one, is now officially scrapped. The vote eventually came, and it was 12-1 with only Councillor Zassino against it. Another odd moment. The notice to refer back to administration for another alternative, now on to its 5th location. But sources tell me they're going to go back to suggestion number 1 from months ago, which is the Miles Street location. Administration goes back to the drawing board again and will come back with new suggestions. The referral passed 12-1 with only Councillor Agarwal against the plan, but we all know the story here. It was clearly outlined last night by City Manager John Cullen. We're running out of time. We were running out of time 2 months ago. The structures need to be completed by December 31st, but we've lost another month, and we're now at great risk of losing the funding for the project. If I can give it a prediction, administration will then again put piles of work into this, and councillor won't make the decision. It's hard to make hard decisions. They have a great deal of trouble making them. So I think this ship has sailed. They won't do it. We'll see what happens when the 5th location comes back next month.
Yeah, so they do that on the 14th of July, and that money, I guess construction has to begin in July.
We got to get going.
Wow.
We are very late.
Before we get you going, I just want to take note of the time. If you decide what you want to do.
Yeah, we'll keep going. Kelly can stand by, sure.
All right.
And now on to the designated truck route. A measure aimed to maintain highway infrastructure and enhancing safety by limiting heavy truck traffic and residential areas. Authorized by a 2018 engineering report, the new bylaw mandates that drivers of vehicles with gross weight of over 15,000 kilograms must use the designated truck route, etc., etc. There are all kinds of rules to it. However, the regulations include a couple of exemptions for both the general truck route requirement and weight restrictions for things like municipal services, emergencies, waste transport, public utility, and passenger buses. It's all part of a bylaw that would come into force October 1st. And discussions began, with councillors getting 10 minutes to state their case, keeping in mind this debate has happened for 20 years. Multiple councils have turned this down for all the right reasons, but this is a new, unpredictable group, as they've shown many times before. Some don't seem to care that we're about to force 1,600 trucks a day onto the Thunder Bay Expressway and 1,600 trucks a day past the Quequebeca School, because, you know, it's Quequebeca, not Thunder Bay. That's their problem now. And the volume of truck traffic on the expressway, well, that's the MTO's problem now. So on to the discussion. And guess who was first? Councillor Gatuga, of course, is first and asks questions of the Thunder Bay Police Service who support the DTR. They were completely staged questions, albeit rehearsed too, as expected, with facts and numbers from the police. We get it. Councillor Gatuga went on to remind city councillors that they're also not traffic engineers. It's the same speech he's been making for decades. We've heard it all before. He wants the 200 people that signed the petition this time to get what they needed, moving 1,600 trucks a day to the Thunder Bay Expressway, then sending them directly past Quequebeca School. So I'm going to jump ahead to the vote. The designated truck route passed last night. 1,600 trucks moving to the expressway this fall. Remember this moment. 8 of your councillors, one of them who has now flipped his vote 3 times, made it happen. 5 of them were reasonable enough to say no to it. But I skipped over an interesting part of the designated truck route discussion. This happened last night.
You know, so people in the community can say whatever they want. If you really want to know what's happening at City Hall or what happened, Jeff Walters, who was here, does a city minutes every Tuesday. He writes it, and then Wednesday it comes forward. Rather than listening to, speculated opinions by someone like John Agarwal, who often doesn't have the facts correct and has irrelevant comparators.
Point of privilege there. Can we just keep personal people out of this?
Sorry, it's just a media outlet that names councillors all the time.
Understand.
It's a media outlet that names councillors all the time. Most importantly, thank you to Acting Mayor Shelby Chung last night for the point of order in calling out the councillor for using names of public citizens in the meeting. It shouldn't happen, but it did. Councillor Gatuga, thanks for listening. I know you are. It must be an important part of your week because you thought it was appropriate to not only call out the media, but use my name specifically. You used all 10 minutes of your pontification on the one and only file that you seem to care about, yet still had time to mention my name as someone who you say has, quote, speculated opinions, and, quote, who often doesn't have the facts correct, and, quote, has wrong or irrelevant comparators. That from someone who somehow connected the temporary village to the designated truck route in the same scattered 10-minute speech, but I digress. Now, I do have opinions, and most of them are based on facts in your decisions, facts of what seems to be your weekly outbursts. I tell it as I see it. It's part of my right to have an opinion as you have a right to yours. It doesn't mean either is wrong. It means there's a difference of opinion. You should know this. The difference is, though, that I don't use a tax-funded pulpit to say mine. Ironically, I haven't seen an email from you to correct any of the facts that you say I often don't have correct. But I do pay attention, Counselor, because somebody needs to try to make sense of the circus that you've been part of for over 20 years. In any case, calling me out specifically in a council meeting is similar to what happens at most meetings where you call out your colleagues. And as some have suggested to me privately, it's the definition of bullying. Unfortunately for you, I've dealt with far bigger bullies than you. So here are a couple important facts. Number one, we both have opinions and we do have a right to them. I've rarely, if ever, agreed with any of your opinions, and that's okay. I have the same number of votes as every other citizen in the community. And the only time your name gets mentioned on Tuesday mornings comes from one of your outbursts like last night. Or when there's something of value that you brought forward to tell our listeners, but that part's rare. The difference between our opinions or our speculated opinions, Councillor Gatuga, is that one of us tries to deliver them with class. Thanks for listening, Councillor. The next meeting is July 14th.
Thank you, John. Wow. That was something big. I was shocked to hear that.
As one of the texts said, there's no such thing as bad publicity, but keep my name out of city council meetings.
Yeah. Wow. All righty.
Next meeting, July 14th.
Okay, so you get a bit of a break.
I'll take it. Meeting ended last night at 12:12 a.m.
There you have it. Thank you, John, for this one. We're a little late. Our apologies, but that was important to pass along. Council Roundup. You can get a repeat of this on our website, 999thebay.ca, and you can text the word council to our T-Baytel talk and text line in just a bit, 807-344-8229. Text the word council. You'll get a link to the Roundup. John, thanks so much.